Jimmy Butler, he's a very interesting player to me.
He's like, oh, shoot, I don't know where to go with the ball because I haven't been able to think.
It was a great series. Game 4 was one of the best games I've ever watched in my entire life. Now LeBron's a 4-time champion, and Anthony Davis gets his first.
It's unacceptable. So happy when the Astros lost because it would definitely be a 2020 thing.
Yeah, I was impressed by their game. Braden Point, Andre Palat, Nikita Kucherov, that was the best line in the playoffs, no doubt.
Stay undefeated when they face the mighty Cowboys with Garrett Gilbert.
Hey everyone, I'm Jared Sandler, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. I just want to say it's been a super packed week, and my man, of course, Austin, thought of a great idea. We'd record. This is posted today, but Austin, I don't think we expected just how bad this game was.
I did not expect it to be like this. We both thought that the Chiefs were going to win. There were some predictions we each got right and wrong, but the score or how close the game was going to be, we both had it being close games, but that was easily the worst Super Bowl I've watched since Seattle-Denver. And the only difference between those two games was at the very end of the game, the Chiefs scored 2 touchdowns to make it more competitive. But those last 2 touchdowns don't mean anything to me.
Oh, yeah, no. It really reminded me a lot. Seattle and Broncos is a good one. I did work during the Super Bowl because it was bad. But it reminded me a lot of the Chiefs versus Buccaneers when it was like hyped, like, ooh, this is going to be a close game. Who's going to win? And to me, it was the same problem for the Chiefs. They just couldn't protect Mahomes.
I mean, yeah, that's a good way to put it. They couldn't protect Mahomes, but I also think that Mahomes deserves a lot of the blame in this game because after a while, you have to understand that you need to get the ball out quicker, and he never changed. He never changed how long he was holding onto the ball. And whether that's on Andy Reid or him, it's on somebody. It's on someone. Someone held on to the ball too long or decided to throw a lot more deep passes because it needed to change. It desperately needed to change, and it never happened.
Yeah, I believe this had to be one of his worst performances in his career. Just because, as you said, yeah, he was pressured a lot, but I saw a clip again of that interception. The first interception. The second one he was hit, so it's still on him, but the first one it looked like he was rifling it in too far. Or there was just too many people. I don't know why he's trying to rifle it in there. But yeah, no, credit. And Jalen Hurts did have a good game. But to me, I think it's kind of to me, it's just the way this team was built. Because to me, the defense won it. While the offense was great, but it was really just getting that pressure on Mahomes. The Eagles didn't have to blitz. There was that stat.
Yeah, but that's scheming. That's the issue. I think more the Chiefs' offense lost it. Yes, the defense won it for the Eagles, but the Chiefs played into their hand more than I thought the Eagles thought they were going to. The Eagles' defense has looked good these playoffs, but it hasn't looked as dominant as this. They forced some turnovers, against Washington, but Washington still put up a fair amount of points. They almost lost to the Rams in the snow. The Chiefs' offense looked stagnant. It looked predictable, and I don't understand why they did not change at all. Extremely disappointing from them, and kudos to the Eagles for making them look so human.
Yeah, kudos to the Eagles, and that's really impressive. And I think, again, just kind of, I don't think you can say so. You can't give Howie Roseman too much praise because if you look at the roster, there's a tweet. It was like quarterback getting paid top money in Jalen Hurts. You have 2 big wide receiver contracts. You have a lot of offensive line contracts. They went and signed Saquon. It's just the amount of money they're paying while still having a good roster, and they're not in cap hell like the Saints. Just the cap gymnastics, I would say, help this team be built. And they're built in a variety of ways. You have Jalen Carter in that middle who's a number 9 pick, which was a great trade, how they ended up with that pick. But then you also have Zach Bond, who had an interception in the game where he was just kind of like, we're going to move him to off-ball linebacker. Then you also have Cooper DeJean, which was a draft pick. And same thing with Saquon, free agent signing, big-time free agent signing, different than Zach Bond. So, yeah, I wish it was closer just because – I wanted the Eagles to lose, but also I just wanted an entertaining game, and this was awful. Did give me a chance to do work, but I guess you're bound to have these sometimes, which is sad. The Seahawks and Broncos is a very good comp for this because it was 7-0 on the tush push. I think it was an interception, right? That extended. No, they got a field goal, then an interception to make it 17-0. And it looked pretty one-sided at that point.
I mean, they were up 24-0 at halftime. They outscored the Chiefs' total yards.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs had 23 yards in the first half, and the Eagles had 24 points. Just a very disappointing game. And the crazy part is while the Chiefs defense didn't even play all that bad. I mean, yards per play, the Eagles weren't great. Saquon was very human in this game. He only had 97 yards from scrimmage, 40 receiving, and 57 rushing. It was really everything else. They did. I don't think they guarded the wide receivers particularly bad. I mean, A.J. Brown had a touchdown, obviously the deep pass to Devonta Smith, but that didn't really kill the Chiefs. What killed the Chiefs was their offense. And again, they didn't look like they went into the locker room and changed anything about their scheme, about what formations they're going to run, or, like I said, changing how long that Mahomes is going to carry the ball for. And it just led to more and more sacks and everything just piling in.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was the Chiefs' offensive fault, and they're not an explosive offense this season. I'm curious what they do next year. Because you and I talked about this, I think they're one of the top front offices. I'm wondering how they attack the draft, because I do think they need to. They technically, if Rashee Rice wasn't hurt, they do have a pretty solid wide receiving core. But without him, you have a rookie in Xavier Worthy. Travis Kelce is good, but he's not great. I'm curious which way they go. If they draft a tackle, if they go another offense with a wide receiver, because Hollywood Brown signed a 1-year deal. I do think they need to invest in the offense again because they've invested in defense and it's paid off. And they tried. Wanya Morris, I think, was the 2nd-round pick, the left tackle that got benched midway through the season. So this is just what happens when you have good teams and great teams. A team of the Chiefs' caliber, you just don't have enough holes, and it just wasn't enough for them.
Yeah, it just wasn't a good game at all from anyone on the Chiefs. I only kept watching as I was at a friend's house watching the game, so that's the only reason why I kept watching. Where do the Chiefs go from here? You said you're interested in how they're going to play it. Is it going to be more draft, or do you think they save $17 million if they release Travis Kelce? Do you think that's something that may happen? Do you want to pay Travis Kelce $19 million next year? If he decides he wants to come back, I don't understand how you don't release him. There's no way he's a $19 million tight end at this point in his career.
Yeah, but I think there's a restructure. Like, they go to Kelce and be like, hey, man, we want to help your team. Because, and just in light of recent events, releasing Travis Kelce, except it's different, but it just feels like he's almost at the end of his career. Let him play one more. It kind of seems disloyal.
But is it worth wasting a year where he's obviously not putting up the production that necessitates a $19 million contract?
I understand what you're saying. I think it's to Chiefs management where they go, hey, will you take this pay cut? We'll make it up for you. And I would be pretty shocked if Travis is like, no, I want this $19 million, and I'm not willing to let you save that. I do think it's going to be they maybe add a void year to where they can delay it. Sort of what we saw.
It's not a void year. You just extend the contract.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
like-
there's
like-
something there's to where they free up that 17 million, but they don't have to cut Travis or
But the Chiefs have already done that. I mean, that's what they did with Mahomes, and that's what they've done with a lot of some other contracts. Is they just keep pushing it down. But at some point, you're going to be able to sign no players. You're basically your entire roster is going to be dead cap.
and I think that's something you got to live with. Like that's got to show up for the Eagles soon. Well, not soon. In like 7 years.
I get what you're saying.
But to me, it's primarily. I think it has to be through the draft. They can't. I was even shocked last season they were able to sign so many guys. So I do think it's through the draft, which they've been good at. And I'm trying to see. I don't think they have any big time free agents this year, except Hollywood Brown. But I'm trying to think if there's because they usually just replace corners. But I do think it's through the draft that they do this. Oh, and I think another thing is I think Trey Smith is a free agent.
Hmm.
So I do think, yeah, he is probably going to be gone. That's something to where you probably can't keep him. You got to let him go. And that's going to open up the whole right guard for you. But I do think it's primarily through the draft. They hit on a lot of picks. And that's the only way you can really build with this team. Unless you do that dead cap to where you move some other deals around so you make up some money to where you get Trey Smith or you can get another guard. Because Trey Smith's going to get a pretty high market. He's 25.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think it has to be through the draft. I don't see them going out spending big, like with Tampa Bay when they spent big on Joe Tooney.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, no matter what they do, they're still going to have an uphill battle, in my opinion. Travis said I believe before the Super Bowl, during Super Bowl week, Travis Kelce said he was wanting to return.
Yeah. I do think he wants to return, especially after this. It would have been different if it was a three-peat, I think.
Mm-hmm. But I think, what were we going to say?
It'd be cruel. Well, this is also kind of, it's not like the Luka thing because that's like Luka was 25, but it does feel.
It wouldn't be unheard of. I've definitely seen teams cut players as they get to this point in their lifespan.
Yeah, no, I just feel like Travis is really connected to Kansas City, but he is at the end of career, so it's different. But I think you do that if you go to him and he's like, "No, I'm not taking it. Cut me." But I'd be really surprised if he did that. If he didn't accept the pay cut, or he'd just go like, "Hey, we'll give you your money just in a different way."
Okay. Well, I feel like after every Super Bowl, people always think, "Oh, this team is going to have a good chance of repeating or whatever." But I remember the Rams the year after they went to the Super Bowl; they were horrible. There's been a couple of teams that, they don't bring back enough players, but the Eagles definitely are going to have a chance this year. What do you think their odds are next year as repeat champs?
I think they have pretty good odds. Kind of looking at the players they have. Because you have AJ Brown under contract. The only thing that I could see them not repeating, because I expected them to come back to the Super Bowl the following year, is the is the coordinators, because that's what really messed them up last year. Even though they still made it to the playoffs, Kellen Moore just left as we are recording this, but it looks like they're going to keep Vic Fangio. But the offense is important to them, and I am curious how that goes, because if you look at it right now, Nick Sirianni is hitting positively. He's 2 out of 3 right now. One being Shane Steichen. Can't remember the other guy for the offense coordinator job.
I can't either.
And then you have Kellen Moore. And Shane Steichen, Kellen Moore, after the Super Bowl, of course, Shane Steichen didn't win, but they both went to head coaching jobs. And now who does Nick Sirianni pick as the next guy? So that to me would be the only reason they don't get back to the Super Bowl is coaching, because this roster is impeccable. And just
Yeah,
kind of the differences.
They definitely have a talented roster. I do want to kind of flip this to a Cowboys just for a slight second. Does it matter at all to you that Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn are both head coaches in their own right at different teams, or no?
I think it does kind of speak to what I was saying with like coaching. The one that bothers me probably the most is Dan Quinn, just because of how it ended. Like the Cowboys broke it up with Kellen Moore, but with Dan Quinn, I was not happy with his final game against the Packers.
I still think that's entirely on the offense, but
I think the Packers took advantage of something that had been shown through the season, that you cannot stop the run. And there was no needs addressed. But of course it goes back to Jerry. But I am very curious to see how Kellen Moore plays out, because it was weird. He leaves the Cowboys, LA. There was like if you do the Gemini thing, it automatically pops up on your phone. It shows goes in depth on Kellen Moore's time with the Cowboys, Chargers, coached, and then Eagles. It's like number one offense and all that. So I am curious how he does with a new team, because he wasn't bad with the Chargers. It just wasn't to the heights it was with the Cowboys or the Eagles.
yeah, we'll have to see. The Saints are down in a good spot, cap wise, age wise. They have a lot of problems, but we'll see what he's able to do. I do agree that the Eagles' main problem is going to be coaching, but it's going to be a competitive year next year. There's going to be a lot of teams looking to win either their team's first or their first for their team in a while. And I'm excited. Hopefully next Super Bowl is a lot more competitive than this one.
I hope so too. I just hate it when we get duds for Super Bowls. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that, and I'll let you close this one out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know what you guys want us to talk about in the future. We're open to all the comments, and thank you guys for listening.